Welcome back. This is Module 4, and this is really where patient transformation begins to happen. So, this is where we start to think about systems in our office that begin to shift the mindset of patients. So, let's assume that every patient that comes into your office has been brought up in a medical model. So, they're typically looking for a quick fix. They come in with some sort of symptom, some sort of pain, and they want that pain taken away right away. They want it done as quickly as possible. They certainly haven't thought about coming back for ongoing care. And they want to pay next to nothing or as little as possible. That's the initial mindset. So we really have to meet them where they're at. So the patient journey is really one, and I always used to compare it to the first date. And on the first date, it's about getting to know that person and starting to create a relationship. And then by the time they go through your examination, your report of findings, or your doctor's report, and their first adjustment, and by the time you put a care plan in front of them or a plan of management for their care, that's where you're asking them to marry you. That's where you want them to become a lifetime, long-term patient for their own benefit and their own wellness, and to reach the real God-given creativity that when they finally get to that point where you put a care plan in front of them, you want them to really feel good about being a part of your office and be willing to start a journey of chiropractic care to reach their full potential. So every interaction that they have with you shapes their perception of chiropractic care. So there's some key steps in the patient journey, and it always starts with first contact. So obviously, I think we all know that the first contact needs to be very friendly, very welcoming, very professional. If you can think about it, and many of you have had experiences by going to a medical doctor's office. And I remember when I was a kid going into the medical doctor's office, and it seemed like such a very sterile, stark environment. And I remember walking in, and it was very quiet, and nobody was saying anything. Nobody would acknowledge you. Everybody be looking down, reading a magazine, or just looking at the floor. And you'd walk up to the wall where there was a glass window, and the receptionist inside the medical office would slide open the glass window, and sometimes without even looking at you say, "What's your name?" or "Give me your health card," or whatever that was. And we want to be completely opposite of that. So we need to meet patients where they're at. And along the journey, we plant seeds for this transformation to happen. So our initial visit is all about three things, and that's really creating trust and rapport. It's educating on the fact that they are here with a symptom, but we're going to look for the cause of that symptom. We're not worried about addressing the symptom as much as we're worried about correcting the cause. And then we need to create urgency that if the cause is a subluxation or if the cause is some sort of nerve interference, that's a big problem. It's not just a simple muscle strain. This is a problem that can degenerate and cause more issues over time. So these are the three things we want that patient to know when they leave after the first visit. So one of the key things we focus on is finding out their big why. We call that the hot button. What is it that they really came in for? It might have been the back pain or the headaches or neck pain that brought them in, but there's something about that symptom that's stopping them from having the life they want to have. Maybe it's stopping them from working, or maybe it's stopping them from their recreational activities like playing golf, or perhaps it's a relationship issue where they can't play with their children or their grandchildren. These types of things are the things we want to ask and find out. What is it really that they're coming in for? What do they want to accomplish by coming into our office? And that's something that we want to pay attention to, write it down, and consistently refer back to that big why or that hot button. And then we create an examination for that patient that's very congruent. If we're searching for root cause, but we're doing testing that only looks at pain relief, like orthopedic testing, that may be an incongruency. So we have to really make sure that all of our procedures begin to be congruent. The last thing is that we're going to talk about when we get to the point where we're presenting a plan of management for their care or correcting the cause, We want our care plans to focus on correcting subluxation and having an objective measurement to monitor that subluxation, so we take the mindset of pain relief away. Here's the thing, is that if we use systems that just reinforce pain relief, like orthopedic testing, or consistently asking the person how they're feeling or how the pain is, and we're constantly reinforcing this pain thinking, two things happen. If the patient has this expectation that they're only there for pain relief, they come in until the pain is gone and they have no reason to continue care. Or they come in with an expectation that the pain should be gone, and if it's not gone, they end up quitting either way. So the pain is corrected and they quit, or the pain isn't corrected, and because of their expectation that it should have been corrected, they quit. So there's no real reason to keep them under care for a long period of time in their mind. So if we can get their mindset onto a corrective type of mindset where they understand that the root cause is coming from a subluxation, or the root cause is coming from some nerve interference that's causing the symptom, and we can use an objective measurement to monitor the correction of that cause, then we take that pain mindset right away from that person. So we need to put in some sort of an objective measurement into our examination that we monitor through their course of care, different from pain relief or outside of pain relief. And our follow-ups are consistent. They're congruent. They have regular progress examinations and updates to reinforce the correction of that objective measurement and the correction of that cause, to reinforce the patient's commitment. The thing that we want to do with every single patient that comes into our office is we want to create wow moments. Many patients have obviously been to a medical doctor in the past, and many have been to other chiropractors and have this pre-formed opinion or assumption of what it's going to be like. So if we can be uniquely different and provide these wow moments, we create more trust and more loyalty right from the start. So here's some things that I've always found that have been very helpful in building the practice and creating that relationship. We would always, it was written in stone that we would call a patient after their first visit. So they had their day one examination, and we put systems in place to make sure that patient received a phone call. And it was amazing how many people had never had a call from a doctor before. And it was just basically to say that, hey, it was great to meet you. I'm so happy that you came into our office today. I know you have this symptom of back pain or whatever it was, but we did find that there was an underlying cause causing that. It is subluxation. It may be worse than what we thought. It is affecting your nervous system, and that's my concern, is that that can lead to other problems. And the good news is that we know how to correct this. So it was a very simple phone call, but it created such trust right from the start, and it really created that patient to have that loyalty to at least follow through with their first few visits and then sign on to a care plan and remain under care. So a follow-up phone call after day one or after their first adjustment is tremendous as far as creating great trust. And that's something you can do right away. You can implement that today and start phoning those patients after their new patient appointment or after their first adjustment, just to see how they did. Your CA can take the role of the patient advocate or the care coordinator, and it gives them a new role. Just the title of it alone infers that now they become the CA that actually holds the hand of that patient. Patients come in with this element of fear. They have this uncertainty about why they're here. Is this going to work? What's it going to cost? I'm not really sure about this. I might have this scary feeling about what this is all going to be about. But if we can have somebody that actually guides them through the process, pre-frames what's going to happen, it removes a lot of that fear, and it creates a greater element of trust as well. And you start to transform your teaching, rather than teaching them about things, into leading and inspiring. And what happens is, when you move to this state of leading and inspiring and sharing your vision, you start to get this patient not just concerned about them, but they start thinking about all of the other people in their life who need to be under your care. Their children, their partner, their spouse, their family members. whether they're distant family members, their neighbors, people on their sports teams, their kids' teachers, people at church. And then all of a sudden you start getting referrals from all these new patients because they are now inspired because of your vision. So these small little actions that you can do create huge patient loyalty. We start to reframe patient mindset. So you shift from this fixing pain model to correcting and eliminating the cause. We start to explain the above, down, inside out principle. And it's amazing how many people, their light bulbs go off and they may come to you and say, why didn't anybody tell me this before? And they start to understand that the body heals best no matter what's going on, whether it's a back pain, a muscle strain, whether it's some sort of a shoulder problem, a headache, whatever that is, or even more serious diseases like an immune system problem or an organ type of issue or some sort of hormonal problem or even a serious disease like cancer, not because we're treating anything, but they just start to understand the principle and the fact that when their body is functioning better with no interference, they have a better opportunity to overcome these conditions and these illnesses. So chiropractic care unlocks the potential for lifetime health and medicine avoidance. And we start to use these relatable analogies. So rather than this mechanistic thinking, we start asking them, where do the nerves go? And we used to have this nerve chart that we would use for patient education on every single new patient exam. And we would show them that not only are the nerves pinched going to the lower back, causing some of the pain that they might be having, but there's also nerves that go to their gastrointestinal organs. There's nerves that go to their kidneys. There's nerves that go to their genitourinary organs. And if those nerves are pinched going to the lower back muscles, the same nerve roots are pinched going to those organs, causing those organs to start to dysfunction. Now, they might not notice any symptoms of organ dysfunction, but if this problem doesn't get corrected, what's going to happen to those organs? And that was a huge question to help people's light bulbs go off in their mind to say, hey, this is a more serious problem than perhaps I was thinking at the beginning, and getting them under the course of understanding this principle of chiropractic so that they would have that trust and follow through with our recommendations. I used to love the analogy where I would say, if you were a 100-watt light bulb, but you were shining dimly, your dimmer switch is turned down. And that's what subluxations do to your nervous system. They turn the dimmer switch down. So once we start correcting those subluxations, we're turning the dimmer switch up so you can shine as brightly as you're meant to shine, like that 100-watt light bulb. It was a great analogy. People got it, and it helped them to understand why they needed their spine adjusted and why they needed their subluxations corrected. So, acting on patient feedback, we would also regularly gather feedback, and we'd have surveys and patient questionnaires that led to casual conversations just about their experience in our office. We wanted to know what they were thinking, what they were feeling. We wanted to know what they were telling their friends about why they were coming here or what we did in our office. It was really important to us to make sure that our patients were advocates for what we did. And we would basically have common areas for improvement. So we wanted to have a plan for each patient, and then we stuck to the plan. So that was one thing that I became very firm on, in the fact that when we did an exam for somebody and we designed a specific course of action for that person, we wouldn't compromise based on finances or based on time or based on any objection that that patient had. We wanted to make sure that we stuck to our principles and said, this is what it's going to take to get this corrected. And if we compromise, we diminished the seriousness of what we were trying to relay. So, and that seemed to really go well with people. People knew that we were very principled about what we talked about, and they could trust us to say that if we say they needed to be here so many times to get that problem corrected, that's really what we meant. Our goal was to serve families, not individuals. We had this family mindset. So everybody that came in, we talked about getting their family checked, getting their kids checked. And when they understood our vision and our mission and our purpose, that became just the norm. It wasn't odd. It wasn't weird. They just knew that we were a family office and we saw families. We didn't see just individuals. And we included patient-driven home care exercises for everybody because that kept the patients engaged in their care, and it gave them a reason to be part of it. So it wasn't all on us. So whether they got better wasn't because of just us, or it wasn't just because of us that they didn't get better. It was a team effort. And when we had a team effort, we collectively had results together. So patients that share your vision are happy patients, and that really is what creates long-term retention and referrals. So in the next module, we're going to start talking about putting these systems into place so you can start to be very congruent with your mission and your vision, transforming the patients through education and having that all fall into place through the systems that you create in your office.